This is Steve Curtis. I'm the Customer Experience Lead for Columbus Global. Today's webinar focuses on connected field service, and this is part 2 of the webinars where we focus on the ability to schedule the created work order. So to reiterate, Dynamics 365 for field service goes all the way from the customer view, a very customer-centric experience, delivers full connected field service capabilities, including the mobile technology for the remote engineers, customer inventory and customer asset management, the ability to schedule and dispatch created work orders, and then the ability to use a service agreement for repetitive scheduling for large service-based contracts where necessary. Today we're going to focus very much on the schedule and dispatch part of the system. And just to remind you, on part 1 we went through the taking of an IoT alert in Microsoft Dynamics 365, and from that we created a case and then we troubleshot the case and generated the work order. So as a start point for this webinar, we're going to go from the generated work order, and then we're going to go through the different options for scheduling that work order today. So let's switch into demonstration mode for connected field service. So this is Dynamics 365 and we're in the created work order. This work order was created at the end of webinar number 1. And it's basically because the temperature in the cabinet has thrown an anomaly. That anomaly via an IoT alert has then created the case. We've looked into the case and then we've created the work order. Now in terms of scheduling, which is the next step, the scheduler can do this one of a number of ways. One simple way is to go up here to the book. And then if you've got a small number of work orders that are being created, it's pretty easy then to just go up, drop into the schedule board via this view, and it will give you, this is a schedule assistant view, and what it will do is it will give you a list of available resources and the next available slots. It will also estimate the travel time. So in this case, what it's doing on the filters, it's saying you're going to be on site for 2.5 hours. Look for anyone within a radius of 120 miles based upon these search and end dates, based upon the skill sets of being able to do the job, which in this case is engineer and technology level 1, and also being allocated to the Northwest Territory. So these are the limitations, but you can set these filters in different ways that will give you different resources. In this situation, we've got David Zane and Susan Davidson, and they've got a number of slots through this period, going from the 14th of January to the 20th of January, where they could do the work and we could allocate this. So we could go to David Zane as an example, pick David Zane and pick this first one, and then we could go through and do a booking of his time. And in this case, it means he will start his travel at 12:30. Because he's 14 miles away, he'll arrive about 1:05, and then he should finish literally about 2.5 hours later, which puts his scheduled finish time at 15:35. So we could book this, or we could book and exit on this work order. Very easy way of allocating 2 people as necessary. Now, if you're a slightly bigger organization, or you go through more work orders, the other way is to have a dedicated person who's monitoring the schedule board all the time and to do the bookings from the schedule board directly. So in this case, we're going to go into the schedule board and we get an initial public view of the schedule board. Let's change this. We can have a number of different views, so we can switch into the view of the Northwest. And these views can be configured in different ways with different constraints. Let's take away our little menu over the side here, and then we can see more information about where these work orders are that we need to schedule. Now you can see that the board itself has got 5 resources, 5 different engineers are available to us. We can see their take up at the moment, and we can see the jobs that they're on. So you can see, for instance, that Susan Davidson is in progress on work order 115. That's scheduled to be 3.5 hours, and she's going through that at the moment. The color coding helps you to understand, but again, all of this is completely configurable as needed. So what we can do is we can go to the unscheduled work orders And again, based upon availability and skill set, we can go into here and we could say find availability. If we click on this, it will do the same as we saw earlier, where you saw the schedule assistant take all of those rules and find us the next available resource for us to be able to do that work. Now, the way this demonstration is set up, David Zane is our remote engineer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this particular work order, and then we're going to drop it up here and schedule it for David Zane to be able to do that. So simple drag and place, that drops the work order in for David Zane to be able to do. It's now scheduled that work order for David Zane to start that at 1 o'clock today. And we can click on this work order, and then it will give us the details of the work order over here for David Zane to be able to work on it. Now, there is another option for us to be able to do scheduling, and that's through an Azure-based tool that Microsoft has called Repetitive Schedule Optimization. And I've worked with very large companies where they don't have this manual drag and drop because they have literally thousands of engineers. And in that case, repetitive schedule optimization is an engine that sits in Azure, and what it then does is it looks all the time at the jobs that are coming up and the work orders that are coming up, and optimizes the allocation of work orders to individuals based on a set of constraints that you do. So again, things like mileage, skill sets, availability of product and time are all things that, as a matter of course, you may want to use to use repetitive schedule optimization. I've worked with one organization. They have 11,000 engineers in the UK, and they're obviously using RSO because you can't imagine schedulers dragging and placing work for 11,000 engineers. This is Steve Curtis. I'm the customer experience lead for Columbus Global. This was just a little bit of a view into the ability to allocate resources and bookings for work orders via the schedule board.